Welcome to the introduction to What Happens When You Die? Could the Bible actually agree with science? Most issues today seem to be of a bipartisan nature, especially for everyone lucky enough to live in the United States of America. Just about every issue that has meaning in our lives has two major viewpoints, and usually they're on opposite sides of the universe in terms of being able to come together where they can share the same space. The obvious ones are political differences. Left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, liberal versus conservative. Whatever you want to call either side, they usually want to demonize the other's way of thinking and will always favor people who think similar to their own point of view. The next most obvious viewpoints to raise contention are science versus religion. And by religion, I'm referring mainly to the Judeo-Christian belief system because that's the one commonly considered at odds with science, and part of the reason this book came about. These two viewpoints seem to be, as described above, on opposite sides of the universe. You might sooner say that politicians will come together in agreement on healthcare or immigration than saying that science and religion could agree on anything. If you're paying attention to the news, especially at the time of writing, you'll know that U.S. politicians have been as divided on those two topics as they can possibly be. However, science and religion have more in common than you might think. Yes, I can hear you saying it right now. You're crazy. Science is totally based on facts and religion isn't. Well, actually, not all science is based on facts and not all religion is based solely on faith. The fact is, science shares with religion a similar set of problems to overcome, and I'll give you a couple of examples. People in the scientific community seem to suggest that the Big Bang is factual, though there is no actual proof other than the computer models they make up that simulate what may have happened based on the observable expansion of the universe and theories. So what's the problem, you say? Well, I have just a few questions. To start with, I would ask where the proof is of what caused the expansion, and where did the stuff that expanded come from? I mean, something had to be there to expand, right? Where did it come from? Could you really tell me with a straight face that something came from nothing? This problem can be seen on the flip side. These same people in the scientific community don't see the irony when they deride Christians by asking, where did God come from, when asking them to explain the origins of the universe. Another problem that scientists have with the Big Bang Theory is they don't really know how galaxies are formed. You might want to say they're formed by the gravity of a supermassive black hole, but that answer requires answers to many more questions. For example, what kind of force does it take to cause a supermassive black hole to start forming, and how long does it take from start to finish? And exactly how old is the Milky Way supermassive black hole, and how does that compare to other galaxies? Questions like these illustrate that scientists who believe in the Big Bang don't have an explanation for everything that seems to get implied as a fact. If you want people to believe that the Big Bang is the source of our universe as we see it today, shouldn't you know how a galaxy, and by extension a supermassive black hole, is formed? The fact is, if you closely listen to and read the experts, you'll see that there are a lot of "it may have happened like this" or "it could have happened like that" in their explanations of the Big Bang and supermassive black holes. See footnote 1. Let me ask you this. Would you buy a house that had only part of the walls, roof, and floors, and then expect to be able to live in that house? You could say that the Big Bang Theory really is holy. Both the Bible and science reference a single point from which everything that exists emanates. For religion, it's God, and for science, it's the Big Bang Theory. As for the unexplained, scientists like to say, we'll figure it out in the future when we know more. That's similar to a Christian saying, my faith will not be in vain at the second coming of Christ. So there really is as much faith in science as there is in religion. Another example I'd like to give you is related to a comment I often see on social media. Whenever I read controversial topic threads on Facebook or in a discussion room where a Christian would make reference to God, inevitably a person that believes in the Big Bang and evolution starts calling God the invisible man in the sky, and others like to heartily join in on that sentiment. I find this very interesting because science itself has proven that it's possible to bend light around an object, rendering it invisible, See footnote 2. And there are many articles you can find on bending light. Obviously, you would need light to see God, right? So isn't it possible that God would be able to bend light around himself so as to not be seen by humans if he wished? I mean, if humans have insight as to how it's done, and possibly are already doing it, wouldn't a supposedly omnipotent being be able to do it as well? The Bible describes such a thing in a verse from the book of Psalms. He made darkness his secret place. His canopy around him was dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. Psalm 18, verse 11. According to the Bible, and this particular passage was written thousands of years ago, God can render himself invisible using natural objects such as darkness, thick clouds, and a canopy of water. And as science can tell us, water is able to reflect and bend light. So, is it possible that God could exist and be invisible to us? The answer, according to science and the Bible, is yes. So science cannot disprove the existence of God by mocking Christians with the invisible man in the skyline any more than they can irrefutably prove that the Big Bang actually happened. And isn't that what science should be? Provable facts? By the way, according to scientists, black holes are invisible, and the only way that scientists even know they exist is by the behavior of visible things around them. Now that sounds eerily similar to the way some people describe the power of God and his effect on people. Don't get me wrong, I love science. Science has brought us many wonderful things to make life easier and even better in some instances. But it's not possible that it can explain everything in the universe. Now let's get to the reason I'm writing this book, which is to show that the Bible does agree with science on more than just the bending of light to make some things invisible. That's right, I said that the Bible agrees with science, and I'll plainly state for you, when a person dies, they're dead, and they do not exist anymore. There is no immortal soul or spirit. We know that science believes that, but the Bible? Interestingly, before science was ever practiced as a discipline, see footnote 3, the Bible told us what happens to people when they die, and it's scientifically provable. See footnote 4. The rest of this book may please the scientist if you dare to read it. It also may disrupt, dishearten, and radically shift the paradigm for most Christians that believe the immortal souls of dead people are either in heaven or hell at this very moment. One of the biggest questions you might have right now is why the majority of religious people believe that their dearly departed loved ones are in heaven. Notice, however, nobody's dearly departed loved one is ever in hell. Go figure. Not only will I prove with the help of the Bible that they're wrong, I'll also explain why that false belief is so prevalent in society and in other religions. Since it's obvious that science can't come to any other conclusion than when a person dies, they're dead, I'm only presenting the fact that the Bible agrees with science. I won't be quoting any more scientific articles or journals. I will, however, be using the Bible and the Bible alone to make my case. If you're interested, there is a great website for scientific-minded people where scientific topics that many consider fact are called into question and explained far better than I could. At reasonstobelieve.org, you can find the topics for discussion and related articles. The contents of this book are more about bringing people truth according to the Bible so they can be making better choices, whether they want to believe in God as his word stands or believe in cunningly devised fables. See footnote 5. I can't make this choice for you, but I can show you that some things you believe about the Bible and religion are likely wrong, for the Christian and the scientist alike. If you're a scientist, I hope you read this book. It will undoubtedly open your eyes to some interesting biblical knowledge and wisdom. Not only that, but you'll be able to biblically refute your Christian friends when they start talking about how their dead mom, dad, sister, brother, aunt, or uncle is so proud of them as he or she watches their achievements from heaven. Just don't go around implying that God doesn't exist by calling him that invisible man in the sky anymore. You may sound like a hypocrite. As for you Christian readers, I hope you read this book as well. I hope you come to the conclusion that dead people are dead and realize that it's really for the best.